Rwanda's $2 billion airport that could help African aviation take off. Approximately 40 kilometers south of Rwanda's capital city of Kigali, in the Bugesera district, construction vehicles and highly visible vests swan across the arid expanse of land. The developers wanted to be the jewel in the crown of African aviation industry. Slated for the completion in 2026, the new facility will boast 130,000 square meter main terminal building capable of accommodating 8 million passengers a year, a figure expected to rise to over 14 million in the following decade. Adjacent will be a dedicated cargo terminal capable of accommodating 150,000 tons of cargo a year. It's a significant upgrade on the existing Kigali International Airport, which is set to remain operational for special arrivals, some chartered flights, and pilot training school. Pre-pandemic, the airport was shuttling close to 1 million passengers annually, but its geography limitations, perched on top of a small hill surrounded by neighboring people, which is unideal for an international and large-scale airport. So the move was inevitable. The upgrade was inevitable. Not just for the future prosperity of Rwanda, but also for the future plans of Rwanda. Rwanda wants to become the Singapore of Africa, the Singapore of East Africa. In order to do that, having a strategically placed airport had the highest quality and standards and luxury. It is very important. Few countries that are known for doing this in the modern day are thus as Dubai. The Dubai International Airport is one of the most important airports for transportation, at least for aviation transportation, worldwide, because it's a perfect stopping off point between Asia and Europe, Asia and Africa. Not to mention Europe and Australia, New Zealand, and further into Asia. It's a long distance. Flights from New Zealand to Europe can take a lot of time. I'm talking like 13, 14, 15 hours. This is unideal for all passengers of different abilities. With the Dubai International Airport, planes often stop off for refueling. People often stop off to change flights. They often stay a day, a few hours, perhaps a multiple days. This gives people the time to explore the city of Dubai, to explore the airport. The airport is no longer just a place for transportation of aviation and people. Modern airports are a place to actually live. It's got everything you might need. Take a look at the Singapore airport. That's a perfect example of an airport that has everything you need. The Singapore airport is known for being a destination itself, simply meaning it has world-class shopping centers, meaning that you can practically buy anything you need, some of the most luxurious stores for the people who can afford it at least. How about entertainment for family members and for children? Well, airports do have that these days, especially the Singapore airport. This is an important part of an airport because you need to be able to house people for multiple days. So having an hotel, having available food, shops, restaurants, theaters, activities for family members and for kids, it is very important because it needs to give you a welcoming, homey feeling. Arrival into these modern airports shouldn't just feel like a place that all you can do is just sit forever. No. It's a place that you can actually have a peace of mind and relaxation for some time being. Not to mention entertainment for your visitors, entertainment in all different categories. But entertainment that suits all people of all different ages. What about the technology standards? It needs to be high, it needs to be modern, it needs to be easy to be used. So when you're looking at the future Rwanda airport, this is what you're looking at. It's an international hub. It's a hub of East Africa. It's a hub of Africa. Because Rwanda is quickly becoming one of the biggest business destination in Africa and perhaps one of the easiest place to do business in Africa. With this being said, the airport needs to be at the highest quality and standards, and it needs to have a high capacity to match with the country's destination and population and attraction. Now, Rwanda is a country that is landlocked. It doesn't have an ocean. It is a country that is surrounded by other countries, which simply means that aviation is perhaps their biggest thing they need to rely on. So aviation is very important to Rwanda as it's their only means of transportation internationally. So with this being said, the future objectives for Rwanda are quite obvious. They're going to become a business hub of Africa, a place that is easy to do business, a place that is safe for visitors and for its citizens, a thriving environment that welcomes all. And they will use their airports and modern architecture to do this. This is no different from what Singapore has done. It's no different from what Dubai has done. They've used modern architecture, modern technology to assist with the traveling, the ease of traveling to their country. Not to mention the ease of doing business within their country, making sure that when you get to this airport, what you see outside the windows is so captivating, you just want to walk outside. So if you're traveling from Europe to Australia and you're stopping off in Dubai, the moment you stop off in Dubai for a day or two, you are captivated. You want to go outside at least for a few moments to at least visit the city center. And that's one of the reasons why Dubai has become so incredibly successful. That's one of the reasons why Singapore has become so incredibly successful. There is power within airports. There is power to be utilized. Now, the CEO of Aviation Travel and Logistics Holding, the Rwanda governed owned company that is overseeing the construction, said, and I quote, "I'm amazed. It's like a dream come through to see the impact and magnitude of this project to the population. We are really impassioned to see the efforts completed and started operations." Now, to get into a bit more details, Qatar Airways will have a 60% ownership of the new airport. The Middle Eastern airline will also acquire 49% of shares of the African country's flag carrier airline, Rwanda Air, offering access to over 65 locations around the world. It is a partnership that intends to help Rwanda. After all, like we said, Rwanda is a landlocked country in Africa. Believe it or not, this is a big deal. There are limitations to what Rwanda can accomplish because aviation travel and logistics is very expensive. While with countries that have access to the ocean, access to logistics and shipping is significantly more affordable. So Rwanda understands very well they need an economy that's not just industrialized, but they also need an economy that they can rely on their own agriculture. They can rely on their own manufacturing of processes. If anything, Rwanda would perhaps want to do more exporting rather than importing because importing is so damn expensive. Due to the fact that they can only import via land and air, they can't import via the ocean. So if Rwanda was to export, who would they export to? One, it's their neighbors, it's the surrounding nations, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, the list goes on. And if they wanted to export via the aviation aspects, well, that's also an option, but of course it's more expensive. So perhaps they would only export certain items using aviation because of the expense. Now, the main objective of this effort is basically to make sure that Rwanda becomes an African hub where everyone will be transiting either for tourism, but also for businesses and different industries. The CEO also said the impact will be in terms of providing a platform for all economical life of the country to develop sustainability. We see that as not as an impact on the country's economy, but in the neighborhood. We know that this area will become a satellite city of the city center. Realize what they just said, a satellite city of the city center. Essentially what they're saying is they want to build up around the airport, the area in which they have chosen. They look at it for further expansion. So while you are able to travel to the capital of Kigali, there should be other cities in the surrounding area that could also be very inviting to you as a visitor. Now, it has recently been announced that Ethiopian Airlines also signed a $6 billion deal for a mega airport, the largest airport in Africa. This airport will have a capacity of up to 100 million passengers on a yearly basis. Currently, the Ethiopian Addis Ababa Airport has a maximum capacity of 25 million passengers per year. For a country like Ethiopia this size, it's quite a limiting factor. Now, both countries are located in East Africa, which means that they will be somewhat a competitor. But I don't think this is all a bad thing, and I'll explain to you why. The population of Ethiopia and Rwanda varied quite widely. This is the population of Ethiopia. it is 123.4 million people, and this number will continue to rise. By 2050, it's probably going to be twice as much. With the majority of people in Africa are under the age of 21, I believe. In fact, I think it's 18 and a half years. I think it's the average age in Africa of a person. Incredibly youthful and young population. Now, looking at Rwanda, you can notice there's quite a difference, 13.78 million people as of 2022. And I'm guessing it's quite a bit more by now. You look at the surrounding countries such as Burundi. Burundi also has 12.89 million people. So the new international airport of Rwanda only being able to allow for a maximum capacity of 14 million eventually on a yearly basis, is actually to match their location, to match their country needs and wants. At this moment, it would perhaps be foolish for Rwanda to build an airport at the size of 100 million people on a yearly basis, because they don't have that population to support that travel. The traveling going outside of Rwanda and the traveling coming inside of Rwanda, it has to make sense. Now, Ethiopia, on the other hand, they can build this airport at a capacity of 100 million people because their population exceeds that. And by 2050, it will probably be twice as much. By 2050, Rwanda will probably be looking to build another airport because by that point, their population will also be exceeding 30 million. So the world is quickly changing for a lot of these countries, but they have to build for their current capacity and for future capacity. Could future expansions be possible for the Rwanda airport? Of course, because of the land availability. So when you're designing airports, I hope they keep this in mind that future expansions should always be an option. So while it will be a little bit of a competition between the countries, I don't think it will be a problem for Rwanda or for Ethiopia because they have quite a different target and vastly different economy, vastly different populations, vastly different country sizing and geopolitics. And in geography, they're slightly different as well. But it's great to see both African nations advancing in the space of aviation. Aviation is king in this area. Aviation is everything in this area. The more you can advance in aviation, the more prosperous your nation will become to be. Just take a look at the UAE population. Believe it or not, this country's population mostly comes from immigration. People moving to Dubai. And a lot of that actually started around 2006, 2007, 2009, and it really took off in 2008 to 2010. It really took off around that point. There was just a continued climb from the early 2000s until now. There's just a continued climb, but that's immigration. So that is where we'll end this video. I do hope you've enjoyed this video. I must say also, based on the design I've seen of this airport, it is quite an astonishing project. I'm absolutely in love with this type of architecture. Really, really am. The architecture is very clean, it's very modern, and as you can see, looking at the map of a location for this airport,